Alright, so let's get to the trigger. We're not going to get into valve assembly. That's going to be too involved in this one video. So let's show you how the trigger works, what the parts are, how to do this, and I took quite some time coming up with the fastest, quickest way to do this that's reliable, fast and reliable, so everybody, at least most people, get success. Okay, so I want people to have success doing this. The trigger is the most involved part. As a daisy guy mostly, this is like a combination of the 880 with the valve and the valve stem, and the 340 with its mini springs. So, alright, so let's go ahead and start. Obviously, you take off the right panel, and so you go ahead and do that with your hex key, and get it off there, and wiggle it off. Okay, and then let's go ahead and see. You're going to be doing it flat on a table, but this is the only way I can really show this very well in this position, because, well, this is the best way I can do it with the lighting and demonstrating. So we have a couple of springs here. Now, what I want to key into is this spring here, the tail end of this torsion spring. It looks like you broke something. No, that's riding on the right panel, and that's something we'll have to show you at the end. It's riding on the right panel, so don't worry about that. That's fine. And then we have a torsion spring there, extension spring here, and we need to deal with that, and I'll try to keep this clear. All right, so the first thing we want to do when we're taking it apart is get this tail off your left panel. Okay, so we pull up, and there we go. Okay, now it's a little awkward where I'm at here, but we'll make it work. Okay, and then with your extension spring, which is right here, okay, want to go ahead and take a little closer look at that. Now, one thing I want to point out, there's a piece of plastic. That's a peg, actually. Don't break that. There are parts in here that can break, so please be careful with that little peg right there. Okay, so we want to disengage the bottom of that extension spring, and so we get in there with your needle nose, and it's not too bad. You just basically slide up, just a gentle, get a good grip on it, and just slide up. There we go. Okay, and then from there we go ahead to removing the pins. Long pin, short pin. These pivot pins, long pin, short pin. Don't get those mixed up, please. Long pin right here. So then we pull that out. Okay, and then the short pin, pull that out. Okay, now as far as your trigger blade and that pivot pin, leave it alone. Don't mess with it. This big torsion spring can hang out on the bottom. So let's go over this and go over the parts, and I'll keep it roughly in this zoom. So this is your sear in this model. There is your torsion spring. There is your pivot pin. Okay, that's a good, I'm going to just leave it here as far as the zoom. Okay, and a common mistake is when this is called the hammer, and the hammer gets in here and goes around your stem. Okay, oops, sorry, let me get my hands out of the way. Goes around your stem and pushes it down so you can fire your gun. So the common mistake people make when they see the sear, they automatically think you got to hook this. No, you just want to contact the front of this. So kind of like another hammer. So you just want to contact the front of it, not try to hook it on anything. Okay, so again, so your sear, your pivot pin, and your torsion spring. Now on this part here, this is a little bit more involved. You have a smaller spring in there, so it's shaped like a P. It's a tension spring, so we need to be careful with that. And so we put that in there. We make sure to line it up with that hole, because the pin's got to go through that. And then your lever has another hole, obviously right there, and that goes through the top. And then remember, long pin, folks, long pin. So long pin, that goes through there. All right. Okay. So there you go. Just went through all three sides, so 3 pieces linked together like that. And so we put this part in first. And this is the simplest way I've come up to demonstrate. First of all, of course, get that, what people call arm, but to get the arm of this hammer around that stem. So we do that first. Get that around there carefully. You don't want to damage that. Get your lever up behind your trigger. Okay, And then now we got to find that mating hole on the other. There we go. Good. Oh, thank God for small miracles on the video. Okay, and then for this, all right, for this, we go ahead and take the pin and the spring out, okay? And we leave the spring on. We put the spring on, so it's like this, and we come around. Now, again, don't try hooking it or putting it at odd angles. You're just looking to basically put it straight across, all right? And there we go. And then we need to get our small pin. There we go. Get our small pin, and we find again that hole on the left panel that it anchors to. So there we go. And boom. Okay. So that all went well. Now, we have to be careful here, and the order is important. Now, we start by, this time we reverse the order. We put your extension spring on first. Okay. So we get it up in that hole. This is a little more challenging than taking it off, so get a good firm hold with your needle nose. Don't use wire cutters. Someone asked me if they could use wire cutters. I don't know what they were thinking. Obviously, they're new to tools. But no, you use this needle nose, nothing sharp on this spring. If you clip this spring or break this spring, you're done. You don't break the peg down here either. So then we get a good grip on it. We bring it down, and see, now that's going to be part of the problem, is this thing sliding as we're trying to put it back into position. So, ooh, if you only knew how challenging this is, doing this standing straight up. God, I hope people appreciate this. So anyway, so then we're going to get that arm back into that peg. And this is much more tricky than when we took it off, because it likes to slide, okay? So we're hitting some issues here, okay? So let's go ahead and pull that down, if it would just please pull down. Okay, so there we go. There. Okay, and then push it down all the way. Don't just sort of put it on the peg. Here, let me try to lift that up. Push it down all the way to the bottom. Okay, just push it down. See, there you go. Let me really get in tight here, and since I'm wrestling, there we go. Good. Ooh, that's a good shot. Okay, back off a little bit. Okay. Now we reestablish your main torsion spring. I'm going to have to come back out quite a bit for this. Okay, so then this part catches up into your hammer arm, however you want to describe that. Okay, and that catches here. Okay, and then, okay, okay. Well, folks, if you're wondering why people didn't shoot a video on this, I hope it's utterly clear. This is fairly difficult unless you are someone from Hollywood, I guess, or has a lot of experience doing this type of thing. Jeez. Okay, so here we are. So I'm going to try to keep my hand out of the way, and so you can see what the heck's going on. All right, so for that torsion spring, okay, should I do it with this hand? No, you can't see if I do it with that hand. Okay, so you take this and come up. Okay, there we go. And we bend it up into, there we go. We got a firm hold of it. I'm trying to keep my hand out of the way. This is challenging because I'm trying to show you what's going on. Keep it up, bend it into that left frame. Yeah, there. So anyway, all I can do is show you another close-up. Let me raise it up a little bit. So there we go. It's inside the left frame. So the left frame being that part right there. Okay, now so everything's looking good. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and pause it. Let me think about what to do here. Okay, so let's go ahead and remove that book and put this up here, because now here comes the circus tricks. I'm not really pleased with the way Beeman did the spring work on this, because now let me zoom in on this. That spring right there, has to actually go on the right panel, and this is where it gets tricky. And okay, and then we have the holes we have to line up. So we have a hole there and a hole there that we have to line up on these pegs, on those pins, that is, those retaining pins, or pivot pins. So then we have to line those up on there. And this is how it'll look to your eye too, by the way. So here, let me do that again for you. So you line it up on there, line it up on there, and so there we go. Now, the thing is, you see that spring obviously sticking out. So that's a royal pain. Now, some people say to use a needle nose for that. I prefer to use just the back of a... Okay, well, let's get it in there first. Okay. All right. So, actually, well, you know what? Let's go ahead and use the needle nose for this for the video. Because this is going to be a royal pain otherwise. Okay, so we take that and get it in there. Okay, let me try another way here. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and just, there we go. I'm gonna put it in there with my hand to start, and you don't want to leave it there because it is okay. So I'm not a real big fan of the way that Beeman just chose to do that spring right there, to be honest. But let me see. If you put it and leave it on the left panel, they say that won't work. So I'm trying to... Okay. Well, folks, I hope I put the rest, any reason why you think someone's shot a video on this. I hope you I have that pretty clear now. All right. So if you think it's fun getting in here, I was willing to do it the demos to practice on these springs, but... Or practice on, yeah, we'll practice on the spring, sure, but... Okay. Well, because I'm going to wrestle with this till I get it, because I am not going to reshoot this. I'm just telling everybody that right now. No way. Okay, so there we go. We got it. You just saw me. I'm at my wrestling match with this, and I'm going to just get... Again, the wonderful pick, thank God for this, is I'm going to just make sure it's pushed in there. There we go. There. Now, then tighten it down. So, you saw a good wrestling match, and I decided I was thinking of stopping and starting over again. I'm like, hell no, this is too much hard work, and no one else is bothered to do this. There's no way I'm starting over again. Okay, there we go. And the automatic safety kicks on. Everything's good. Okay.